Okay, this is honestly one of my favorite breakfasts, and I don't have it enough because I usually make it with leftover rice, and I plan my meals so well that I often just don't have leftover rice without a plan. So I cooked this fresh brown rice this morning. But anyway, this is literally, it's just brown rice, peas, and a little bit of butter. And this used to be my go-to side dish for most of my childhood and teen years. My same food back then, and it is still a same food that I return to today sometimes, is roasted chicken thigh with rice and peas and a little pat of butter. And then when I was younger, I would drink 2 gigantic glasses of milk with that because it was the 90s and milk propaganda was, they had a pretty good game back then, and it's coming back. But anyway, this is actually very tasty on its own. It's very easy to make, even if you have to make the rice from scratch. It's like 5 minutes of active cook time, if even that. And it's actually pretty healthy for you, especially if you use a whole grain rice like brown rice. And the peas in there are a good protein. The butter just makes it taste good and, lubricates it a little bit. You can, of course, omit that if you're concerned about, your health or whatever. But I don't know, a little butter is fine in my book. I think a little butter is healthy because it makes you happy and it makes your food taste good. Needs a little more salt. I buy unsalted butter because I'm a baker. Let me see if this is still recording. I'm paranoid after last episode. Okay, we're still recording. But yeah, I buy unsalted butter because I'm a baker. So I have to add salt when I add butter to things that are savory. We already had an exciting morning today because there was a little baby bunny that had fallen into our window box outside. And so my husband fished it out and we released it into the bushes. There are lots of feral bunnies hopping around our backyard. I see them in the mornings and evenings. So surely that little baby bunny has family somewhere and hopefully it'll reunite with its family and survive. Bunnies don't really have a very high survival rate. That's why they have so many babies. But hopefully the little bunny makes it. It's very, very cute. Much better with more salt. Okay, for lunch today, this is towards the end of my grocery cycle. It's been a little more than a couple weeks since I last went shopping, so I'm mostly making a meal out of pantry staples, and then I have this little bit of cabbage that I've had for almost 4 weeks now at this point. Cabbage is so robust, it lasts forever. Anyway, I want to use it up, so I'm just going to cut this into ribbons and boil it with a little linguine, and then with, it looks like a full can of tomatoes, but most of this is juice from another can of tomatoes. There's 3 little Roma tomatoes in here. I'm going to turn them into a sauce in here with some garlic and with some oregano. I grew this oregano myself. I harvested some this morning, actually, and I bundled it up and hung it up to dry. And then I had another one that I had previously put up to dry, 2-3 weeks ago, and I removed that and put it in here. So pasta is a really nice, cheap thing that you can make yourself, and it's another great dish because it uses up things in your pantry, fridge, and freezer. A little olive oil. Meanwhile, I got a little pot of water with a little salt in it. So part about being poor and cooking your food at home to save money, some people will bring up the argument, oh, it's actually not cheaper to cook things at home because, you often wind up with a bunch of leftover ingredients you don't use and they go bad. And it's yeah, if you're not used to this lifestyle, you will run into that issue at first, which is why it's essential to understand, the theory of cooking, not to just follow recipes, but you have to understand, how cooking works. And have some go-to recipes in your back pocket that any vegetable could be substituted, any meat could be substituted, and therefore you could just cook the recipe kind of at any time. And pasta is one of those things that, if you keep pasta in your pantry, and you should, and you always keep, olive oil in your pantry, maybe some canned tomatoes, some herbs and spices, or, you don't even need the canned tomatoes. I often would like to just make sauteed pasta in olive oil with maybe a little garlic, some aromatics, and a vegetable or two that I happen to have in my fridge. Sometimes it'll be zucchini, sometimes it'll be eggplant, sometimes it'll be cabbage. Sometimes it'll be spinach. It'll just be whatever vegetable I happen to have in my fridge that I have no current plans for, and it's just sitting there and it's going to go bad if I don't use it up. Pasta is a great way of using it up. And you can play around with flavors using different herbs and spices. So you're not like literally eating the same thing all the time. You know, another thing you can do that's similar, but very different flavor profile is like an Asian noodle sort of stir fry, again with noodles that you keep in your pantry and Asian condiments that you keep in your pantry, like rice vinegar and soy sauce and hoisin sauce and chili crisp and whatever. And then chuck in whatever vegetable you have in your fridge or vegetables you have in your fridge that are going to go bad. And then it doesn't go bad, and you get basically kind of a free meal out of it. So again, understanding basic cooking technique, garlic burns very quickly. So I'm just going to immediately start crushing. This tomato will break down more, and we can smush it with a spoon as we go. Also, this is kind of a rustic sauce. I don't really care how pretty it is. You could also like puree this in a food processor, or just use crushed tomatoes. I get whole tomatoes because they tend to be cheaper and of better quality. I'm going to dump like a little juice in here, but I think we're fine. The rest of this juice I'm not going to throw away. I'm going to cook this down and add a little sugar, turn it into tomato paste basically. But I'm not going to do that now, so I'm going to put it in the fridge for later. Salt. Okay, this basically just needs to break down for a few minutes, which is fine because I'm still waiting for my pasta water to heat up all the way. Okay, water's boiling. In goes the cabbage. So I'm assuming that the cabbage will take about as long to cook as this linguine. Sauce has almost run out of all of its liquid, but the pasta is done, so that was perfect timing. Probably not the tastiest way to prepare the cabbage, but certainly the easiest and most efficient. Turn that way up. Alright, here is my pasta. I'm gonna prop it against my boob so I can eat it on camera while standing up. Guys, this is like, I live in a basement and we have horribly unflattering lighting everywhere. Like, either you can't really see what's going on in the case of cooking food, or in this kitchen it's all like overhead and fluorescent, so like it's all very unflattering, and I don't wear makeup, so but this is like the best lighting in my entire apartment that's like consistent without having to whip out like my studio lights. I don't want to bother doing that for a casual video like this. Anyway, let's eat pasta. Yeah, you're not going to find this in a Michelin star restaurant menu, but you know, it's satisfying and filling. And yeah, the cabbage in there is just a nice bit of nutrition and fiber to what otherwise would not have been a super nutritious meal. Like, the tomatoes and the olive oil have little nutritional value, but the pasta is pretty empty. And with it, I am drinking some homemade iced tea. If you're buying your iced tea at the store, even if it's Arizona, that's a lot of money wasted. I mean, sure, I guess if you like the particular brands of iced tea that you buy that's readily prepared, it's not necessarily a waste of money, but like, you can make it yourself so much cheaper. And I use like a mid-range price range tea to make this. It's like a local brand called Stash. But yeah, I basically take 4 tea bags and like a couple teaspoons of sugar, and I bring the water and the sugar to the boil. I add the 4 tea bags, I put a lid on the pot, and I let it steep for about 5 minutes. Then I take out the tea bags, wait for it to cool, and then I pour it into a glass bottle that I repurposed. It used to have cherry juice in it, but I washed it out and now I use it for iced tea. If we were having sunnier, hotter days, I'd make sun tea. I would just put the cold water, the sugar, and the tea bags in the bottle, and I just let it sit outside all day and let the sun make the tea. But I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and I feel terrible because other places in my country and the world are just suffering terrible, unprecedented heat waves. Please be safe, everybody, and don't take them lightly. Like, heat waves can kill you. Like, hot temperatures can kill you. You might feel like, oh, I just feel hot, and it's like heat stroke can kind of sneak up on you. Like, look up heat stroke and symptoms and like know how to recognize when you're having it, especially if you're in a part of the world or country that doesn't usually get into the 90s or hundreds or 100 teens. But anyway, in the Pacific Northwest, we've been having like pretty normal, like mild weather so far, and forecasts with this super El Nino, it looks like we're still gonna have pretty just mild weather up here where I am in the Pacific Northwest, so I kind of feel bad. You know, it's nice that I have mild weather, but I also feel kind of bad because I know everybody else is suffering. Anyway, this iced tea is good. I'm gonna finish eating this and then I'm gonna take a nap because I started my period today and I feel like shit. And finishing off my day with a little sweet treat, a smoothie. It's so thick, I'm gonna get a spoon. I usually eat my smoothies with spoons, kind of more like frozen yogurt. So I don't know if you've heard, but there's explosive diarrhea going around my country right now. If you live in the US, maybe don't eat raw produce for a while. If you do eat raw produce, wash your produce well. And you know, this smoothie is pretty safe because bananas come in a protective casing. And frozen fruit, those mangoes were surely picked and processed and frozen way before this outbreak happened. And the blackberries I foraged off the side of the road. So, and I washed them as well. So they're probably not contaminated either. That's nice. The other elephant in the room about smoothies is these things can be very expensive if you use like out of season fruit, if you use fresh fruit. Chia seeds can also be expensive, although if you buy them in the bulk section like I do and you're only using like a tablespoon per 2 servings of smoothie, it's really not that much money. And foraged fruit is free, so that's not expensive. And it is blackberry season where I live now, so the blackberries are abundant and tasty and very nutritious. And just because you're poor, that doesn't mean that you don't need fiber. Try to find some way to get your fiber. Either, you know, in today's food alone, brown rice has fiber, peas have fiber, those are both pretty cheap ingredients. The tomatoes have a little bit of fiber, the cabbage has fiber, and this smoothie, the chia seeds, the blackberries, in particular the banana, and the mango all have fiber, so not bad. All right, I'm going to push through this headache and get through the rest of my work day.